To prepare you for college.
To prepare people for college.
To prepare students for college.
To prepare you to succeed in life.
Our generation is packed full of great thinkers. In Vermont, there are currently around 28,000 high school-age students, and the vast majority of these students are in school to chase their future. We have so many creative, innovative problem solvers, yet for the most part, the school system is not allowing them to create, innovate, or problem solve. If the goal of school really is to prepare us for the real world, what will that world expect of us? In order to get a good look at real-world work and what it looks like, I visited Dealer.com, located in Burlington, Vermont. Dealer.com is an innovative business whose employees are encouraged to think creatively and think for themselves.
For the jobs that I recruit for at Dealer.com, skills that you really need to have coming in the door, people who really roll up their sleeves, very innovative, very thinking outside the box, people who are comfortable being uncomfortable. Like one thing that we say a lot around here is the one constant at Dealer.com is change. So people who are very flexible, who can pivot. Another thing that we really expect of our team members is people who come up with solutions to problems. Not only identifying when something is broken or not working really well, but coming up with solutions, being able to really appropriately have a conversation with adults, either one-on-one or in a group setting, because a lot of people come in and their resume might be great, but they don't know how to be in that setting, and so they don't do themselves any favors. Whereas other people come in and they're very dynamic, and maybe their resume isn't as strong, but they just present in a way, they're polished, they're well-spoken. We really expect everybody, no matter what position they're in, to make suggestions and challenge authority and come up with better ways of doing things to make us better and more efficient and doing business smarter.
So, what does it actually look like when students are in control of their own education? I went and visited 2 project-based alternative learning programs called Big Picture, which takes place inside South Burlington High School, and the Nexus program, which takes place inside Champlain Valley Union High School. While there, I didn't see students trying to chase their future. I saw them trying to change the present, and as a result of that, they were preparing for their future.
I'm learning how to be self-directed for one, how to translate my ideas into an actual project,
how to solve problems ourselves and how to get out in the community ourselves.
Sort of take control over my own learning, do what I want to do, pursue my passions.
Independence, self-direction, absolutely. How to play the game of the real world.
It always surprises me that more students don't take advantage of programs like Big Picture. It makes me realize that doing things independently is really scary for people. One of the guidance counselors got a group of teachers together and said, have you guys noticed about all these meetings that we're having about students, and the constant chorus in the meetings is, wow, he or she is really bright, but they won't do their homework or do the projects that we assign them. We realized that we had a lot of students who were not dropping out of school, but just checking out of school. I mean, they were showing up every day, but they didn't seem engaged or inspired. And this big committee spent about a year looking at the problem. Our big goal was going to be to increase student motivation and relevance. So with that goal in mind, we started designing what we saw as an interest-based learning, we called it, and then we started looking around for models. And so we went and visited a bunch of schools, and one of the schools we visited was the Met School in Providence, Rhode Island, which is the original Big Picture school. Anytime you hear those people saying, well, Big Picture or Nexus or these programs, they're great, but you really couldn't scale it up, I would invite that person to go visit the Met that has a 650 student high school where all 650 students are doing project-based, independently directed, internship-centric education with a 1-to-15 ratio of students to advisors.
There's no better sort of satisfaction or reward than doing something you're really proud of and really excited about, and Nexus allows you the time and the space and the flexibility to do that. It's important these days for students to learn how to exercise ownership over their education. We do a lot of spoon feeding, I think, sometimes, and it just makes people passive. Programs like Nexus really help kids to be active learners as well. Nexus really allows students to be the masters of their own time. The other skill I think it's really important to develop is ownership and choice. It's your responsibility to figure out what you're interested in learning. So instead of having everything done for you by the teacher or packaged for you by the teacher, you've got a lot more ownership over what and how you want to study. If you're always having somebody else tell you what to do and how to do it, it really doesn't allow you to become a functioning adult in society. You've got to be able to develop different skills, advocating for yourself and designing the way you want your life to go. So I think Nexus is a good starting point for helping with that skill.
The ability to learn and ask questions and seek answers is that, to me, that's the real thing. And these programs are important because they push us in that direction. The students in our program and in programs like this really are developing the independence part. Nobody's handing them every book to read, every article to read, every assignment to do. They're really involved the whole way in the project, in the learning. So I think what they're gaining that maybe other students are certainly getting, but maybe not as much or as often, is that the task of really seeking out resources, finding valid and reliable information that is going to move them in their project, really having to get through stuck points.
I've learned a lot about problem solving, and because I've had a lot of problems mostly with my guitar project, literally nothing has gone at all how I planned, and I've kind of come to realize that that's the way that it is in life.
Taking time and reflecting and the thought that that requires. And it's not just the bell rang and I'm moving on to the next thing. It's how am I going to get through this, and how long is this going to take me, and really seeing the surges and the slowdowns and the reality of real world work.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that students should take control of their own education. A lot of times what I see happen in schools is that schools were set up and are set up to normalize students. The school system is set up to say all students need to be in this same spot, learning the same thing at this same time to be considered normal. There's nothing worse to me than when I see students who start questioning themselves because of the way the school system is set up, where all of a sudden, because they're not being successful in courses that are either innately boring to them or they're not successful because they have interests elsewhere, they start labeling themselves as stupid or lesser than or not normal. That's horrifying to me. I guess another belief that I have is that people are powerful learners, that we're born as powerful learners. It's not something that's taught. And I think there's some pretty strong research out there that shows, in fact, that the ways in which we teach can rob people of some of that curiosity and creativity that tends to be innate. My advice to students who are fearful about taking greater ownership of their education, first of all, is I understand. And I understand that doing something different can feel like a risk. I would also say that the ways in which we're thinking about education, particularly through the lens of Nexus, is going to feel less and less like a risk as the years go by. It's like watching people be freed from a paradigm of thought that's been trapping us. I'm hoping that we all have the opportunity to look back over our lives. My guess would be that being in that situation, we're probably not going to sit there thinking, oh, I'm glad I went through the steps that the system encouraged me to and followed all the advice people told me about how to be safe and good in the world, though that's good. There's nothing wrong with that necessarily. I mean, I think about how stressed students get about college, having to get to a good school. The idea of going to a good school, that phrase alone is a little bit misleading. Really, you're the one who determines what's good learning. And if you're feeling like you're not hitting it, or if you feel like you're going through just the motions, I don't think life's supposed to just be feeling like we're going through the motions all the time, and just doing what we're told.
What if the purpose of high school was to be present and not just to chase the future? What if school was about practicing real-world skills like innovation, creativity, problem-solving, and learning how to learn? What if you could create your own educational path that was about more than just the destination? You can. Talk to your principal and find out what's available. This is your education. Take control.